Everywhere you go, you build and scale incredible startup ecosystems. And now you're a managing partner at NextStep VC. Claudio, welcome to a podcast, man.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Could you really talk about your journey from the beginning of being interested in VC to all the way to right now as the managing partner of NextStep?
I began my career in digital marketing, so it's been quite a long process to arrive to venture capital. But even when I worked in digital marketing, I was always naturally drawn to startups, technology, innovation. So even when I wasn't working directly with in the startup world, I was studying it, following it, and try to understand how bring new ideas to be real companies. So I started my career in Italy, then I moved to London, and I think is there where everything changed, because London exposed me to an ecosystem that was years ahead. So we had accelerators, incubators, which now is quite common, but 15, 20 years ago was not that common. So being exposed to this ecosystem was really amazing. And so I started to work as a mentor for a few incubators and accelerator. So I had the opportunity, to work with startups. So that experience pushed me to take a bigger step. So I decided to bring everything I learned in the UK, in London, back to Italy. And so there I launched its campus, which was an incubator accelerator focused on pre-seed startups. So soon after this, I was invited by the University of Venice, Ca' Foscari University, to build and launch their innovation and sustainability hub within the university. So that role gave me a broader, more strategic perspective, started connecting with startups, research, corporate, institution, and so reinforced me the idea that sustainability and technology must evolve together. So after this, step by step, all this process led me to Next Energy Group. So as a group, we are one of the largest investors in solar energy in Europe, with almost $5 billion under management. And within the company, we launched NextStep, which is the VC fund of the group. So at NextStep, we invest in pre-seed climate tech startups. We invest up to 200K. And we invest in two ways. The first one is we act at first and only investor in the startups that are really in the idea phase. We invested in PDF, so just presentation without even an MVP. Or we invest in as a follower in round up to 2 million. So startups that are really little bit more developed. So we invest as a follower. So we help the lead investor to close the round. At the moment, we have a portfolio of 19 startups.
Yeah, and it's really amazing how you literally just started from digital marketing, right? And then you literally just transformed into getting into one of the earliest spaces of the startup ecosystem. And now you're at Next Step, which is focused on this revolutionary sustainability, maybe even a bit of ESG on the way. In terms of Next Step VC, right? I looked at your website and there's like tons of stuff. There's obviously you guys invest from a specific stage to a specific stage, but don't you guys have like accelerator, incubator, and then startup studio and all different departments? Like what are they and how does it support the founders?
What happens is when we invest early, so when we invest in startups that are really at the beginning of their journey, they go through our I should say incubator program. So we help them for 6, 12 months, depending on where the startup is. So basically, we create a program, one-to-one program, where we help the startups in the fields where they need. So, for example, if they need help in marketing, we can help. If they need help in sales, if they need help in finance, so we can help. We can help in very different ways, and is one to one. So if we invest in a startup, we try to help the startup. So it's not like a batch program where we get like 10 startups and we provide education, more like helping the startups. We don't help on technology. So because if we invest in a startup, we invest in a team, and we believe the team has to be much better than us to create the technology, because if not, we didn't invest. So we help in everything but technology.
And this is a word that you came from. It's building the startup ecosystems of accelerators, incubators, and the 0 to 1 process to really help all of these founders. So in VC, there's tons of skills that someone needs, but what is your superpower? Is it deal flow? Is it getting secondaries? What is that?
For me, venture capital is really a people business, and the success depends a lot on the relationships that you are able to build. And I should say that we have a lot of great connections with accelerators, incubators, with universities, with tech transfers, with other VCs. So we have a lot of connections, and so this is why we have a lot of deal flow. And of course, also because we are able to invest as a follower. So we really like the idea to invest with other VCs. We have a very extensive like deal flow. So for sure that is, and then we invest worldwide. So we are not limited to, of course, we are based in Italy. The group is based in UK. So UK and Italy for sure are the main two countries for us, because we have a lot of connections. But we invest worldwide. We invested in Ecuador, for example. We invested in US. We invest in Sweden. So invest in a different part of the world. So the deal flow is very big. So we are able to decide and invest in the right startups. And then I should say that is the focus. So having the focus on climate, and being part of a group that do this kind of stuff for like 20 years, it means that we have a lot of knowledge in the sector, in the industry. We have a lot of connection in this industry, so we can help startups a lot.
And it really is true that, from this VC kind of department of Next Energy Group, it's you who are managing it, right? It's the 0 to 1 process. You are getting all this deal flow, like you said, from all these universities, these entire startup ecosystem around you. And then on top of that, Next Energy Group, it's got so much, resources and also connections in terms of maybe researchers to look at the company, to really evaluate the company as well. But at the same time, it can give follow on because it is such a large investment vehicle. So as you are technically the first step for a company to just like get into this cycle of, hey, we want to do something in climate and we want to invest in climate. And if you have a company that aligns with our mission, then yeah, we're going to invest in you. And then we can give you follow on. We can connect you with our network. And that is what Next Energy Group and Next VC, NextStep VC is so special for. So talk about what is VC for and who is VC for?
Okay, so this is quite a difficult one, but I should say that I agree, VC is not for everyone. I think, as I said before, venture capital is a people business. So it's not like a finance job. Because when I speak with people, a lot of like friends and people that doesn't know the industry, they think that is a finance job. So you work just with numbers, which are important, but if you invest pre-seed, not too much. It's more a people business. So again, as I said before, your success depend on the relationship that you have with everyone, because you need relationship with startups, of course, but also for the deal flow, accelerators, incubators, universities, other investors, also corporates. No, because for example, we have a lot of our investments came from an intro from by a corporate. So a big corporate introduced this startup to us. So you need um, to spend time connecting with people and nurturing that ecosystem. So that means that you have to talk with founders, attend events, being present in the community. Another thing is I think VC is not for people who wants quick wins, because it's a very long run. So if you invest today, it could take years to understand if that decision to invest was right. So it requires a lot of patience, a lot of passion, because you have to also to follow the founders and support them during the process. So yeah, I think is a people business and is for people that can see the long run.
And it truly is a people business because if you think about it, right, venture capital is three main categories. Can you get the deal flow? Can you see the great founders before everyone else? And then the second one is, will those founders choose you, right? If you're the one who basically just brought their business from 0 to 1, as maybe, you joined Claudio's startup studio or startup incubator, and then he brought you to 0 to 1, then you're going to choose him because he basically brought your business to life, right? And then the third one is, can you get the capital? If you can get the capital, every VC fund would love you. You can literally just join it, and then they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, awesome. Just keep raising capital for us. But if you're maximized, leveraged in one of these three categories, you're gonna be so solid. And Claudio just has such an amazing, spot right now where all of the factors that he has, it's such an advantage for his VC. So as a people's business, you know, you're really looking at building good relationships. So can you talk about how you start and maintain that relationship with someone who's more experienced or senior to you?
In every relationship, you need to bring value. So that is very important, even if you are the senior or you're not the senior. So you need, in both cases, whether you are, you need to bring value in the relationship. So I think if you are a junior and you have to approach a senior, it's very important to do your homework before approaching anyone in general, because you need to understand the person you're speaking with. So that is very important because everyone is different. So you need to find the best way to approach anyone, pretty much. Try to be useful consistently. So even doing small things, but consistently. So for example, I don't know, share an article, share a quick insight, introduce them to someone that could be valuable for them. That is very important. As I said before, show the progress you made, for example, on a project, because most of people they don't know exactly what you are doing. For example, if you are junior within the company, so it's important to show the progress you made, what you do on a project. No, for example, don't force it. So don't. So I should say, don't force it, but stay consistent with a small and repeated and positive interactions. So again, if I think about me within the group, I always update the CEO about our work. So what we are doing, what are the challenges, where we are going, what are the trends we want to invest in. So keep them updated.
And that's so important where if you are consistently or maybe even persistently, but don't be annoying, right? In giving value at all times, maybe it's like Claudio said, write some articles or just share really good news that that person will want, or maybe even just connect that person with another person. How about in your, I guess, like next energy group? Because, you know, they could have just started the VC fund with anyone, but they chose you. So what was the key reasons that they chose you to really lead this VC fund within Next Energy?
So it's been like a quick process, but starting like for ages, because I know Next Energy Group for a long time. We did like some small projects together, and after a few years, everything aligned because. Again, when I've been able to work in the University of Venice, and I run the sustainability and innovation hub. So I was working on something that for the group is very important. So clean tech, technology, so sustainability, which is the main thing within the group. So they wanted to try also venture capital after 20 years of private equity, and so we are trying and we are understanding if this can work within the group. So again, it has been quite a long process, but of course, is because I was working in that sector, and it's exactly what is interesting for the group.
Did you kind of just fall into it, or were you the one who suggested, like, hey, we should have a venture fund? And then somehow they're like, okay, since you did a couple of projects with us already, we trust you. We think you're an amazing person. Then maybe you should lead the VC fund.
So we were talking like informally for like a long time, but at the end, where we decided, okay, we go to this direction. It was more from them, so knowing what I was doing and saying we are interested in this in venture capital. Let's see if we can do something together.
Yeah, and as like a university, teacher, right? You are teaching all those students. You're helping the ecosystem in a way that could be unique. So within the university, how do you, I guess, like add more to the university ecosystem? Do you create events as well? Do you host events? Do you create a new system for students, entrepreneurs to connect with each other? Or did you just like lead the existing ecosystem and then expand it a little more? And how did that work?
What I've done is, and what I'm doing, for example, lately, a couple of days ago, I was in the University of Rome. I've been invited to do lectures, for example, venture capital, innovation, startups, in general, entrepreneurship in general. When I was at the university, I was in charge of the programs of the hub. So, which means that we run open innovation programs where we had, on one side, corporations with sustainability challenges, and they wanted to solve these challenges through startups. So we were on the other side, we were scouting for technologies that could help these corporates to solve the challenges. And so we run, a lot of events in order to get startups to let startups know that we existed. And so yeah, that is what I was doing when I was in working in the university.
Yeah, and it's really amazing how you're just teaching all of these students like venture capital because most students really don't get exposed to that. Even if, like my school, we have a venture fund, but no one actually knows that we actually have a venture fund. So as a student, as a university student, what are the best ways to actually just like leverage all your university resources to become an entrepreneur?
So if I think about Italy, which is very different from the US, for example, one of the main gaps that we have, of course, there is the money part, because of course, like in the US, there are much more possibility to get funds. So if I think about Italy, is the missing part between I create a great project, a great technology in the university. So the tech part is very good in Italy. What we miss is the link between I have a great technology, now I want to go to the market. So that part is is very difficult in Italy, because we are not like in, miss a little bit of knowledge on entrepreneurship. So I think what when I do this kind of lectures as well, I try to let them understand what are the possibility to get the idea to the market. So through, like for example, when I speak about accelerators, incubators, there are a lot of people, students in Italy, that they don't really know what is. They don't know, for example, the difference between an incubator and an accelerators. So they don't know where to go. They are not they don't have a lot of knowledge on the types of investments. So from where you can get money, for example, business angels or micro VC or VC funds or others. So is I think we need to teach students on this part. So how to get, I have a great idea. How can I bring this idea to the market?
Yeah, and that's what I noticed as well is that for universities, there's so much, maybe even hackathons, right? So hackathons, you've got all of these computer science, these really technological kids who just like knows the technology really well, right? And then you've got like the people who might know the technology but don't know it that well, and they're the one who wants to start the business, but they don't have the technology people because there's no really of this ecosystem where they can both share ideas and actually join each other to start a company. So what you're doing, to really just like teach these kids as a lecturer to really plant the seeds, to expose them to all of this. Maybe it's tell them to join entrepreneurship club, right? Or maybe it is a business entrepreneurship center that they have. Tell them to join it. Tell them that there are these types of resources. And for students, that's the most important thing is that if you're joining a startup ecosystem, you can understand what types of resources you can leverage so then you can best support yourself as an entrepreneur. As a VC, right? On the investment side of things, what does your typical day look like?
Well, is is very different because there are you don't have as a VC a typical day because there are a lot of areas involved in this business, and every day there are a lot of surprises, I should say. So yeah, but if I have to say, there are some areas where you work consistently, which are sourcing, supporting founders, fundraising, and building the ecosystem. So, for example, a normal day looks something like you do like calls with founders of interesting startups coming from your deal flow. So you start to speak and understand them and see if you can potentially invest in these companies. Um Also calls with portfolio companies to understand where they are, to understand if you can support them in some way, if there are some problems, opportunities. So that is quite it's quite important managing the portfolio. Of course, as we said before, and we said a few times, the ecosystem is the key. So you have to nurture the ecosystem. So you do a lot of meetings, recurring calls with maybe other VCs or accelerators, incubators, field experts. You drink a lot of coffees, do a lot of lunches. You speak with corporates, universities again. VCs, accelerators, incubators, so that growing and nurture the ecosystem you have created. And then of course you do there are internal tasks, so works, jobs that you have to do, like for example, I don't know, you have investment committees, you have to speak with lawyers to close the contracts, so you have a lot of operations. And for then it depends which role you have. For sure the fundraising is very important, so is part of being a VC and be, for example, a general partner, means that you have to work a lot on fundraising, because it's important to have a strategy to grow the fund, to do new funds, and so is very important. So I should say the day is quite dynamic, but it's fun.
Yeah, and it's never always the same. And that's the thing that people don't really know about VC is that it's not really structured. So as long as you get the results done, that's all that matters. Could you go through, I guess, like maybe choose the day from last week? Choose the day from last week, and then since it's 7 a.m. for me right now, start at maybe 7 a.m., 8 a.m. You wake up and then you get breakfast. What does that look like?
Okay, so when I wake up, usually I do something for myself. So, for example, like run or gym, I think is very important. So not just working on your job, but working on yourself. So I think that is very important. Then I try to condense like calls in one day of the week. So, for example, I have Tuesday for me is focused on portfolio startups. So all the calls with our startups in our portfolio, I will do all on. I try to do it on Tuesday. So potentially I start at 9 and I finish at in the afternoon for to speak with our startups. With some of them, I have a weekly call. With some, we have a bi-weekly. Sometimes I have a monthly or a quarter. Depends really on the stage of the startups and where they are. But I should say, if I don't have the Tuesday meeting, I should say, yeah, I start with something for me. Then I do like at least 1 hour of learning. So, for example, checking LinkedIn or X, or checking newsletters that I care, and see if there is something interesting, and then it starts the working day, which again sometimes in the morning I organize some calls with our partners. In the afternoon, maybe we do investment committees, or closing contracts, so speaking with lawyers. Is very difficult to say a typical day.
And when you're hopping onto all of these founder calls as a VC, looking at deals really every day and mostly on Tuesday too. But what are the top 3 things you look for in a startup when you're considering whether or not to invest?
Okay, so we invest pre-seed. So probably the 3 things are team, and team. But jokes apart, for sure the team is the most important, because pre-seed, we know that startups that can change something. So is everything is about the founder. So the founding team is of course the most important. Uh, of course, the market is important, because again, we know that the team can change the trajectory and potentially can do like a pivot, or they can pivoting and try something different, but in that market. So we want to see that the market has a potential to grow and potential to do something big. And then, of course, what is most important probably for us is the adherence with our target. So we invest in climate, which means that we invest in startups technologies that are solving a clear sustainable problem. So we don't invest in, for example, in startups that are doing something, and while they are doing something, they also help the environment. No, for us, you have created the project, the startups, the venture in order to solve a very clear, sustainable climate problem challenge. So I think target, team, and market are the three main things for us.
Yeah, and it's team, 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 and then a bit of target, a bit of market. Can you talk a bit about maybe even one story of your most successful investment so far? And how did you meet these founders and not know that, they are the ones that you want to invest in?
But if I have to get an example, we invested last year in Chloris Geospatial, which is a Boston-based startup. They do Earth observation, in particular forest observation by satellites, and they're doing extremely well. So they already raised the round after hours. So they are growing a lot in terms of investments. They're growing a lot in terms of everything. So they are growing very very fast, and so for me they are a great example of a good investment. How do we? So they have been introduced to us from a university professor. So a university professor which was working in energy and this sector introduced them to us. They knew that they were raising, so yeah, they have been introduced to us from a university professor. But if I have to be honest, like all the startups we invested in, they are coming from an introduction. So it's very difficult that we invest. So of course we use like we launch sometimes calls and we have a lot of applications, but actually we all our 19 startups came from an introduction, or like a partner, or a sustainability expert, or a field expert. So someone that introduced them to us and assure us that the idea was good, the team was great, and
And that's the thing, I guess, that most people don't know about VC is that if you are a founder, if you're an entrepreneur right now doing a startup, you're mostly not not really gonna get a call with a VC unless you get warm intros, right? And that's one of the easiest way, but at the same time is hardest way to get into a VC. Uh, where if you're a founder, you want investments, and you have great potential, you should technically be provided this investment, right? But the reality and the truth is pretty bitter, is that unless you actually know someone who knows a VC, then you're probably not going to get a meeting with that VC, which is the craziest thing ever. But for aspiring VCs, that's the same way. So in in a way, maybe another way is to go to events and build connections. So how do you personally build and scale up communities? How do you make sure that when you host events, when you go to events, that you are meeting the right people and you're connecting the right people?
so for my experience, founders don't need probably another panel or another networking cocktail. They need the right person at the right moment. So that is where you can create a lot of value. So for me, is for us in NextStep, we speak with everyone. So if we receive a call, if we receive a deck, we will check the deck, and if the deck is in target with our climate target, we speak with the startup, at least to understand if it makes sense to proceed and do something with them. But in general, if you are a startup, and you're doing something great, for example, within an university, like professors, if a professor believe in what you are doing, any professor has a lot of network, and they can introduce you to the right person. So it's true that maybe a founder doesn't have a connection, direct connection with a venture capital, but it's very probable that if you're doing something good, someone that can make that introduction. So I should say, for founders, just focus on create this network. For example, if you're working in I don't know, mobility, just try to make connections with expert in the mobility field, because if you go to a mobility expert and you're doing something great in that sector, for sure he will be interested. For sure he will be introduce you to VCs or other other possibilities. So I think is I really believe in introductions.
And for the aspiring VCs listening to this, right? This is the same way too. If you're an aspiring VC that wants to maybe even work in environment, ESG, or climate, then you can technically just like go to all those climate experts or go to climate research professors. And what you can do is you can build a solid connection with them. And you never know, like maybe these professors or maybe these researchers actually knows the VC firm on a personal, deeper level and have a good relationship with them. And that's the thing with most people is that every single person in the world is theoretically a connection away from you. So what that means is it could be literally a random stranger on the street in the cafe. Maybe, if you tell to the world, hey, I want to join a VC fund, and that stranger might even know a VC as a close friend. So if you tell everyone that I'm working on this and I'm building toward this as a founder or as an aspiring VC, I want a career in venture capital. Where do I start? Like if you're telling everyone this, then you are much, much more likely to just like build such solid connections and get those warm intros that Claudio loves. So looking ahead, what types of trends in venture capital are you most excited about right now? I know you're also focused on climate tech and you're starting the Diary of Green Innovation to talk about these terms. So what is being overlooked in the market on the startup side right now?
Yeah. So for me in climate, probably the most exciting things trend in right now is nature tech. So nature was has always been treated as something that is nice to have, but I think that mindset is changing quite fast. So if I think about biodiversity, is the main. Probably another very important is water, soil, ecosystem monitoring, regenerative agriculture. So these areas are becoming very, very important and will become, or they are, trillion dollars markets. And this market is underserved. So we need innovations in these sectors. Very few founders are building in these spaces, and there are not really a lot of VCs specialized in this kind of sector. So I think it could be something very interesting for both sides. On one side, startups, so create something in this sector, but also in venture capital. So if you want to do like a very focused venture capital, probably nature tech, but also even more, like you can specialize in water, for example. So in agriculture, regenerative agriculture. So if for both sides, startups and VCs, I think is nature tech is a very interesting sector.
Yeah, and natural tech, 6 trillion industry, which is really still kind of underdeveloped. Like you said, it's underrated. So if founders actually work on that, or if you are an aspiring VC that kind of want to niche into that, that's a really, really good way to, I don't know, maybe join Claudio. But in terms of venture capital trends, Are you using any software AI tools right now in your firm?
So yeah, we use tools for. Yeah, we use something. We use mostly software tools to help startups. So we built a lot of systems to help startups, and of course, um, we have built internally, some softwares, artificial intelligence software that can help us in evaluating the startups. So, for example, making a little bit easier do a market analysis or make a little bit easier to prepare a presentation for the memo for the investment committee. So we are using AI to help the operations. But of course, like in terms of AI, I'm not the biggest fan because running a climate venture capital and understanding the amount of energy required for use these kind of tools. Um, so we use it, but consciously.
And then for the market analysis AI tools, is it just ChatGPT or is it, or do you have some software that you would kind of recommend or even use?
We have created GPTs that can help on all these kind of operations. So, for example, you mentioned market analysis, but it is also pitch deck improvement. So, for example, we help startups to improve the decks, and so is all automatic and is much easier and faster.
What's an internal system? I know you talked a bit about how to break into VC. For our viewers who needs an actionable plan to implement right away, what would be your recommended 6-month plan to fully break into VC for students and maybe people, I don't know, working at startup accelerators? And then say month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, so I should say month one will be learn the courses, blogs, podcast. So understand the industry, understanding where are you going to work potentially. Second, as we said, basically in almost every answer is very important the ecosystem. So you need to build on month two, I should say, work on your personal brand. LinkedIn, X, they're very important tools. So I use LinkedIn, for example, for me is the main for a lot of reasons to connect with startups, partners. So it is very important. So build your personal brand. Start to say something. That means build your personal brand. So if you have something to say in this sector, say it. Don't be shy. So build your personal brand. Start networking on month three. So after you created your profiles and everything, you start to chat, you start to post on this social media. Then start networking. So reach out, for example, on month three, you can reach out analysts, associates, founders, accelerators, early stage funds. So try to speak with them. I don't know, grab a coffee with them, do like a call with them. So start becoming, visible in the ecosystem. Then I should say something that for me is very important, and I will do probably on month four, is start to work on the venture capital, which means not, for example, sending applications to venture capitals without any sort of experience, but start to do the work first. So analyze, for example, 2, 3 startups, try to write investment memos. So try to do the job that you are supposed to do if you get, for example, an analyst job in a fund. So pick some 2, 3 startups that you find interesting, study them, write memos, explain why you would or wouldn't invest in this company, because this can show skill set that VCs are looking for. And probably on month 5 and 6, I will start to send these memos. So through applications. So for example, if you find an available role, just apply but not just with your CV, but also with something. So memos. So you apply for this fund and you say, Claudio, I suggest you to invest in these startups that I met because it's very interesting. So do something. Or if the role is not available, but you would like to work with a fund, just speak directly with them. Make connections with a fund and say, look, I've done this. I think this is a very interesting startups. What do you think? And this, you can show these funds that you are understanding the VC. So it's not just an application, a normal application, but you can show that you can really understand the job. And maybe they will be open to work with you. Maybe not at the beginning. Maybe they have not open roles, but maybe you can start to work with them as a venture scout, for example. So, for example, we work a lot with venture scouts that they can provide us, startups, introduction to startups. So potentially this could be a good starting point to enter the VC industry, not as an employee, but as a venture scout. So I think this could be like quite a good 6 months road to.
Yeah, and if you literally just do it, what's gonna happen in the 6 months is it's gonna get so exponential for you, where it's almost like you built up such an incredible network of founders of deal flow and of VCs. So now for a few rapid fire questions to wrap up, a few words or one sentence. Ready?
Yes.
If you could invest in any startup from the past, which one would it be?
Wow. Should say if I have to stay on my sector, probably is Tesla, because they are I think is the kind of innovation that they bring to the table is massive. Of course, if you got shares at the beginning, if you invested at the beginning, the growth has been very very big. So probably Tesla.
What's your favorite place to travel to but haven't yet?
But this is easy because it's Japan. I've never been, and I think will be amazing.
Oh my gosh, like so much people say Japan, it's
Yeah.
insane. What is one fun fact about you most people don't know?
So a very fun fact. When I was 18 years old, I worked as a support teacher in a small village of 300 people during my, I don't know how you say in English, but for us in Italian is the National Civil Service Year. Basically, is where you do something for the nation. And I've spent 1 year in this small village supporting teacher, helping the very very young 6 years, 7 years old kids to you know
Dude, that's so awesome. Is there any thoughts you want to finish or we didn't get to cover on this pod that you would like to talk about?
I think we said pretty much like everything that I wanted to say. But if I have to suggest something to a potential new VC venture capitalist is don't be focused on ideas and on technology, but invest in founders. So founders first, invest in founders, not in the ideas, because at the end of the day, the founders make a successful business.
That was amazing, Claudio. For anyone listening who wants to learn more about you or your firm, what's the best place to reach you? LinkedIn, email, Venture Unlocked, your website. What is that?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn for me is the best way. So yeah, please keep in touch and ask me anything.
And I'll make sure to put his contact details in the description below. For our audience, he also has 90 episodes of how to break into VC at Venture Unlocked, where you basically just learn the entire fundamentals. So definitely check that out because that is insane and it's amazing. And out of everyone you know, who are two amazing VCs that you would recommend as future guests to our podcast?
So I want to be focused on Italy because I think there are great people, great VCs in Italy, they need to be like I think exposed to an international. So they are already the two person that I have in mind, but they are really great. And one is Alessandro Santo, and the second is Gianluca Tettori. I think for me, understanding and listening what they say and everything, I think they are great. They have a lot of knowledge in this sector. They work in this sector for years. They are great. So I should say, yeah, Alessandro Santo and Gianluca Dettori.
Thank you again, and thanks to everyone who's listening. Comment a question you want to hear from Claudio or our next guest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to press the subscribe button, like, and share with someone who's interested in getting into venture. We'll see you next time on Break into VC.
Thank you.